That's what it represents.
Deal.
All right, we have a forum, we'll call the meeting to order, 6:08. First thing on the agenda is approval of the previous minutes from the scheduled meeting on June the 9th.
Any questions on those, for the previous minutes?
Make a motion, we approve the previous minutes.
Second.
All right, Ms. Megan made a motion to accept the previous minutes from the scheduled meeting on June the 9th. Whitney seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Previous expenditures.
On that, if you wanna look up there's a couple of things. The first page that she's got in here is our child nutrition. After paying the entire salaries for June, because we do have to pay 2 payrolls, we ended up having to move $58,320, which part of that is salaries and part of that is the other money that I was talking to you guys about the month before, about, I think it was 17,000, that which we're gonna move the budget for food up 25,000, so that'll cut it off. But it still shows, and I talked to Ms. Sager this morning, it still shows that we're probably still one person overstaffed in our child nutrition department. And because that's what it's gonna basically be, that amount of, so. It's better than the 92,000 that we moved last year, but it's still not where we wanna be, so we still got some work to do on that. But I do know moving that extra 25,000 over for the food budget will help, even though we've done a great job this year. Sager did a great job with the child nutrition ladies, keeping the money where we needed to keep it, so I'm proud of them for that. And you can see, it's pretty much all squared up except for our federal monies. We have a big negative of 22,000 there, it's 6501, which is Title I money, which I'm gonna talk about a little bit after, Mr. Shep gives his presentation about some federal funding. If y'all haven't heard anything about our federal funding, I know maybe you probably heard about it if you're in the business, but it's absolutely crazy right now. But we should be getting one more reimbursement to equal that 22,000 out. In the 21st century, we'll have that money come in and it'll all be equal, so that, you know, we don't have the negatives there, so that's just a positive for that, so. Any questions?
Sorry, I was running late.
You're from here.
You'll see there our ending balance, which this is our ending balance. Real quick, I'll tell you, our ending balance, not counting our CDs, will be 603,024, which that's not counting the CDs we have. Which if you count the CDs, we're going to be around 972,886. So that's still really good considering where we started. We never touched the building fund, and we still have 2 CDs left to move into the next school year. Again, I'm not sitting here saying that we may not have to use those CDs next year, but you know, not using the money that we had of that deficit, that $880,000 deficit that we had, not using any money out of the building fund, that means that that's that much revenue. We were down $945,000 in revenue compared to what we would have gotten if we counted that $880,000 that we would have had to draw from our building fund. So not doing that has lowered the revenue, but we've spent less money, and I'll talk about that shortly. I want to put the cart before the horse, but because I'm pretty excited about how much less we actually spent this year, and I'm gonna be really excited to talk to you guys about that. But considering all things from the beginning of this school year to now, I'm really pleased with where we're at. But we still have a long road ahead of us. We still got to save a lot of money next school year too, and we're going to continue to do those things the best that we can. So.
Anybody got any other questions on the previous expenditures?
Make a motion, we approve the previous expenditures.
I will second the motion.
All right, Ms. Megan made a motion to accept the previous expenditure that's presented. Ms. Sherry seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We move into a public presentation from Mr. Shep Campbell.
Yes, that's me. All right, I appreciate y'all carving some time out. So, just a little background. I know we had a busy meeting on how we got here.
You can just, they'll be able to hear you online now.
Okay, is it streaming?
Yeah.
Excellent, all right.
The whole world's listening.
The whole world, man. So, for those of y'all that aren't aware, back last year, it surfaced on building turf for the football stadium that kind of got tabled. A couple of months ago, Crystal Petrus called me saying that Booster Club was trying to think of something that would generate a lot of interest, that would get people really behind the project, and said, what do you think about the turf? I said, I think it's a great idea. And I shouldn't have said anything because she was like, all right, great, why don't you help us? And so here I am. And so we've met with Coach Green and Coach Wilson. We've met with the Booster Club and those officials, their officers. And so what we have here, number one, just so everybody knows, get it out of the way, this whole project, the school is not expected to donate 1 penny. There will be no money coming out of the school, out of the school district, out of the school budget. This is going to be 100% completely community funded. So when it says for the herd, by the herd, that's exactly right. It's by the herd. So financially coming from the community. So that's what we're going to be seeking to do here. But basically what we're looking at is a community turf and track project. Am I hitting the wrong button? That might be a possibility.
I will put it for you.
Cool. So, this is essentially what we're looking at right here doing, okay? This is a mock-up from the manufacturer, or one of the manufacturers. It would be a synthetic turf field with a full track, a turf track going all the way around it. That's exactly what it would look like. And just to give you a visualization of it, over the presentation, I'll fill you in on what these boxes here and the logos on the field are for. But you can see there's our field house and the bleachers. Beautiful, beautiful looking turf. And basically when you think of Carlisle, it's farming and football. I mean, that's what it is, you know. Rice started in this area, incorporated back in 1878. Carlisle, I mean, I've been here 4 years. I'm not a Carlisle native. I'm not from this area, but my first memory of Arkansas is the Carlisle-Barton football game back in the early 90s. That was one of the first high school football games I ever watched. And I grew up in that football family, and it doesn't take long, and if you're keeping up with the state of Arkansas, to know that Carlisle is a football town. That's what they've been known for. And when I moved here, when I married and moved here, it's farming, football and farming. And so as such, football's thrived. But now you see softball, you see baseball, you see basketball, you see track. All of our athletics are thriving at a level that you don't see a lot of two-way schools competing in every event. And track is amazing because we don't even have a track. And yet we're still putting out all kinds of all-conference, all-state players. We're competing both in the district and on the state level. So you now have the athletic programs being led by people from this community. We've got a football coach who played football here. We've got a women's basketball coach who played basketball here. You know, you see people like Coach Green and Whitney is always involved, guys that have contributed, that grew up in this district with this school, now coming back to contribute to the school. And so the community, it doesn't take you long when you move to Carlisle to figure out the community is always wholeheartedly behind the school district. And that's what we're going to be drawing on with this project right here. It's a community built on those who have been a part of the Carlisle School District in one way, shape, or form for pretty much their whole life. I mean, my mother-in-law taught here, grandmother-in-law, I guess, taught here. My wife teaches here. My father-in-law was on the school board here at one point. You know, and everybody that I meet in some way, shape, or form, they have touched or been touched by the Carlisle School District. And so it's a community. It's not a community of implants. It's not Benton or Bryant that commutes all the way into Little Rock. It's Carlisle is who we are. And so this whole project is geared around educating people and getting people to be a part of that legacy now moving forward for the next generation. We're falling behind with our facilities, as you'll see. We are a small community, but one full of history and pride, and I believe we can get this done. And when you look at what's going on around us, now with school choice, all the kind of the different things happening there, you've got Hazen and Lone Oak investing in their facilities. Again, emphasizing that we're not asking the school district to put a cent down, which is why the herd is now needed. The entire community is now needed to get behind this. So just some quick stats to show you. Our football program is the most winningest football school in the state of Arkansas, 2A, over the last 3 seasons. State runner-up, semifinalists, quarterfinalists, back-to-back conference champions, 10 all-state selections. You know, it's kind of that age-old. I grew up in athletics. You know, football's, for most of us, not going to make you money when you graduate. It's that degree that's going to matter. But coming from a program like Carlisle is going to instill a sense of pride, hard work, determination that pays off. Investing in those facilities and those sports are going to bring kids into this community. We're seeing that with the state, the school choice that's now kind of the norm. It's the new norm. And our football program is backing it up. I mean, you can see there are 26 all-conference selections. It's just really, really exploded over the last 4 years. Track. 17, we don't even have a track. They can't even practice on the track. It blows my mind. And yet they go and they compete in these meets. 17 all-state men and women selections. They had 2 outdoor state champions. There was an indoor state champion. You know, the men's finished 3rd overall this year in the district track meet. The women's have had 7 indoor state championships. Look, 57 men and women all conference selections, and without a safe track to practice on at home. That's remarkable. That's impressive. Coach Johnson, they've done a great job investing in those kids. The need, it's a big need. All right, we fall behind with our facilities. You know, as an outsider moving in, the first thing I noticed is we're the only school west of the Mississippi River that still has wooden light poles. I think we're the only school in Arkansas that still has wooden light poles. You know, we've fallen behind. Lone Oak's building facilities. Hazen's a last-ditch effort to save their kids by putting money. You know, and we're surrounded by these bigger Cabot and some of these bigger schools that, you know, again, it's that conflict of academics and athletics, but athletics are going to keep kids here and bring kids here, and then academics is what's going to push them on to the next level. And so we've got to catch up. Hazen's putting $2 million into their facilities. They can do that. Now they're getting, I don't know where they're getting their money, but Lone Oak is doing things. Our neighbors are improving and growing, and we've got to do that as well. So the project purpose is to upgrade the existing athletic complex right over there with the turf football field, a full competitive turf track, and LED lights. The project cost right now, we've got a quote for $1.75 million. That's for the full deal. That's new turf, new track, and new LED lights. I think we can get the lights cheaper. We're working on that. The itemized cost is $250,000 for the lights. That's everything. That's the lights. That's the poles. That's installation. The lights would be just like Hazen has, those LEDs where you can turn different colors and all that, you know, stuff. So really cool stuff. The funds are to be raised by the Carlisle Booster Club. They're the face of this, so they're kind of leading the charge. Being a 501c3 organization, it's a unique structure that they had a lot of foresight to do that, because I think it's going to help us as we approach the community and some of these businesses and raising the money. And this is all 100% private funded. So the turf football field, it's what's called replicated grass. It's a Tenkati XPS yarn. That doesn't mean anything other than it's not grass, it's turf, but it's really fancy turf. And it's top of the line. It's a product that's being put on just about every SEC stadium, has this same exact surface. The manufacturer that I've been visiting with obviously would have to go through a bid system if the school board approves, and we'll dive into that, but they're getting all the bids anyway. It's the same stuff being used. It's got shock pads. It's got drainage blankets, and all that means is they put in technology to minimize concussions, to minimize injuries, to maximize safety. So it's top of the line. It's top of the line. A turf surface, and this is big too, I think, is going to enable everybody to use it. So when it's a community project, it truly is community. From the band, cheer, pee-wee, other teams and individuals. We have a slide here, even bringing in a soccer team. Right now, we can't do that because with the grass field, right now, if we were in season, you wouldn't be playing pee-wee tomorrow. You know, you'd be saving the field. Band practices on a carved-out piece of grass or parking lot behind the school. So this is going to enable everybody to use the facility, regardless of weather. This right here is a field. It's the same manufacturer at Pea Ridge. This is what their facility looks like. You can see they have the soccer lines drawn on it as well. They have a soccer program. I think they're a 3A or a 4A school. So the benefits are multiple. Track. I think that's the biggest area for growth because right now our track is not sufficient to really even walk on. There are divots, potholes, cracks. It's pretty unsafe. We can't host track meets. With the new track, we would be able to host at least probably 3 to 4 track meets a year. 2 regular season meets probably. Right now, the district track is at England, and it needs to go somewhere else. And if we had a facility like the one you saw earlier, we would be a shoe-in, I would think, to bid to host that district meet. In addition, there's not a great place to host the 2A state track meet. So they were down in Gurdon this year in southwest Arkansas. They had rain issues, weather issues. They got bumped back. They had to move it up to Quitman, which is a 3A school. So by getting this track, you're going to open up new events, new revenue streams. You go to those track meets, there are, hundreds of people flock to those meets. You could have 1 to 2 regular season. You'd be able to bid on the district because there's not really a 2A track meet other than England when you get east of Little Rock at the 2A level. So we would be a unique, one-of-a-kind facility in that in that regard. The track would also be available for community use 24/7. It's open 24/7 now. But you'd have a safe place, a nice surface. It's a turf track. It's specially designed to prevent injury. It would be more than an adequate walk-run track for the community to use. I guess the closest facility right now is that park downtown, but we just don't have a lot of areas for the community to use. This would be a community space, obviously outside of school usage. So it's here you can read it. I mean, there's just a lot of possibilities that turf track's going to open, and revenue streams for the restaurants, for the businesses, all kinds of marketing opportunities. So this is what the track would look like. You can see it's a turf type track. It's called GeoTrax. It's the first synthetic filament running track surface. It's a little bit cheaper to install than the hard surface, and given our facility, it's going to be the easiest fit to get what we need, and with it being the same type as the football stadium, it's going to minimize the amount of construction that would need to be done. Potential soccer teams, we're adding 2A sports all the time. We've got tennis now. We've got golf. We've got a tremendous athletics program for a 2A school. With this turf field now, you could bring in soccer. You could add that to the mix. I guarantee we got some good soccer players around here. We got one of the best kickers in the state of Arkansas at any level on the football team. So that's going to open up more opportunities for more students, men's and women's. It's going to open up more recognition for Carlisle, and just give our kids, give the youth more opportunities, more choices to get involved with some positive extracurricular stuff. Band program currently lacks a dedicated practice field. They're rehearsing in the high school parking lot or in a small patch of grass. Installing turf's going to let them come over there and use it without any fear of messing the surface up or having to rearrange schedules or whatever. Softball and baseball as well. Currently, Rockefeller Park is really the only practice space and the indoor facility, which is extremely limited. So a turf field's gonna let baseball and softball get work with inclement weather as well. It's gonna benefit everybody. Now, we talked about the community, and for the sake of time, I'll move on. This is just some comparables. Something that we haven't really talked a lot about is the hours and the money it's going to save right now. Our coaches spend countless hours toiling on that field. That's free labor. In reality, you'd be spending another $100,000 on maintenance if you had to pay someone to go do it. But they're out there mowing it, cutting it, weeding it, fertilizing it, chalking it, lining it. I mean, the man hours that they put in on the field alone is probably more than they do actually game planning when you get down to it. That eliminates this. There's a tremendous amount of savings in addition to opening up opportunities for more sports. You can see here's kind of a study that they ran on the cost. And I'll email this to whoever at the end. We'll get some emails and shoot it out to everybody. But, you know, it's enough to say right now, you're going to be paying for this thing in maintenance alone over a 10-year, 15-year period, just based on kind of average costs of labor, fertilizer, things of that nature. So here's how we're going to raise the money, all right? You're going to be looking for some big donors. And the business community is going to have to get behind this. And I've talked to a couple of business leaders, and they're on board. And essentially, I've talked to a couple of banks, and we're supposed to get a term sheet towards the end of the week. And essentially, what you're looking at is you're going to have some big donors. So you're going to have some folks that'll step up and say, we'll give $200,000 or $250,000. Okay, that can be paid all at once, or it can be paid over the course of whatever the note is. Now, from a loan perspective, we're going to have, in my opinion, at least 75% of the money already pledged before we ever get the loan issued. And so once the school board says, yes, we'll do this, then we'll start hitting the community. We'll set meetings at the community center and kind of show people what's going on and why we think it's a good idea. If you're putting down $250,000, you'll get naming rights. All right, so the football field, I think is it Harkey Stadium right now?
Fred C. Harkey.
Yeah,
Fred C. Harkey.
the stadium. So it would be whatever field at
Fred C.
Harkey Stadium. The donations, 100% tax deductible. That's the beauty of the Booster Club being a 501c3. So you're either writing the check to the government or you're going to give a check back to the school district. And it's completely 100% tax deductible. So, for instance, if you do $250 over a 10-year loan, that's $25,000 annually. The business would be responsible for paying. If it was a 15-year loan, it'd be just under $17,000 annually. The logos on the field, that's where the naming rights would be. So the logo of the family or the name or the company or the business, probably maybe even the bank, whatever bank does it. If they'll float the down payment as their donation, then hey, that's great. 2 logos in the field will be named after that individual or individuals. The track, the same thing. So if you get 2 people at $250,000, you put one on the track, you put one on the field, and Harkey Stadium stays what it is. That's not going anywhere. We'll be seeking donations at $150,000 level. You can have the weight room and the press box named after you. You know, the Whitney Jones field house. You know, all you need is $150K, man. You can make it happen. All right. So you want people to get behind it, and you want to give them recognition. You want to give them a little something to take pride in. Again, totally tax deductible, paid up front. You can pay some up front or annual payments based on the loan. This is what we'll be pushing out to folks when the time comes. Sideline sponsorships. You saw those boxes on the sideline. Anybody that gives $50,000, again, over the course of the loan or up front, their individual, family, company, whatever they want is going to be in that box. And it's going to be there for forever. So whoever these folks, that's why I think if you can get the business community behind it, it's great marketing, but also they're going to get recognition for being a part of the project, rightfully so. And that's what these are right here. You can see these boxes right here. All right, so cut me off if I'm going too long, all right? I don't know what my time limit is. I know we got a long meeting, so. So 50,000, again, paid out over the course of the loan or upfront or a combination thereof, and that's what goes in the logo boxes. So obviously, we're not just gonna attack the business community, but anybody donating 10,000, 25,000, $1, whatever it may be, they're gonna get recognition. We'll have banners, game programs, whatever we can do, because again, it's a community effort, and we want to make sure everybody participating is recognized at whatever level that might be, because we're dependent again on 100% private donations to make this happen. Same thing with anything less than 10,000. So again, just here's what it would look like. One goal, one community, one team. And so basically now, because when I went to the lenders, I tried to get the Booster Club's name on the note, okay? Tried to get the Booster Club to be the guarantor of the note. And that's why I'm standing here right now. Banks being banks, I deal with them all the time, they want to see cash flow and or collateral. So the Booster Club didn't work. They've got a great amount of money in their bank for a Booster Club, but not enough for a bank to say, yeah, we'll do the loan and let you be the guarantor. So what that means is the school district, the school has to be the guarantor on the loan. And one bank has offered an unsecured loan. I don't have a term sheet yet, so I don't want to mention any names. Another one is asking for collateral, which I giggled at and said, what are you going to sell, a football stadium? No one's going to buy a football stadium. But they want some form of collateral. So it gets real scary at some point. Oh my God, we're going to be on the note. We're going to be responsible if it goes south. You know, we don't have the money. And that's right now. That's correct. But if you think about whoever the bank is, I had a talk with the guy. I said, look, let's say everything went south, okay? Which means we lost the Booster Club, and everybody that pledged, in a small town, shame can go a long way if they're not paying, but everybody that pledged went away and there's no money left, and the school's on the budget, on the hook now to cover the note. Right now, they couldn't make the annual payment. You're probably looking at $150,000 to $170,000 annually on the payment, depending on what the terms are. Maybe not that much, maybe a little bit more, but that's probably a good ballpark. I looked at the lender in the eye and said, what are you gonna do? You know, if it goes south and the school district says we can't pay it, what are you gonna do? So, well, I mean, we obviously sit down and work with them and figure out what would work, you know, what payment would work. Again, worst case scenario. So the lender in this project is as much tying themselves to the school as the school is to the project, if that makes any sense. But in the end, that's why we're going to get as much money as we can up front, and we're going to have pledges, a legal pledge, a legal document drafted that says, I, so-and-so, pledged this much money over these terms before we ever get the loan. But that's where the school board comes into play, because the bank's going to require somebody that has the wherewithal to make the payments to be on the note. In this situation, the school's going to have to be on the note, and because it's school property. We even looked at trying to do some stuff with that, but in the end, the lender's like, I want to know they're going to have the cash to make the payment, and in one case some collateral, in another case it'll be unsecured, and I get it. I mean, that's just part of it. So with that being said, the project has to be approved by the school board, by the school district. There would be a bid process in which we go out and obtain bids for the project. You can figure on it being at about 1.75. We're going to try to get some grants. I know I've talked to Megan a lot about that. She's going to help do that as well. So we're going to be drawing funds from every area that we can. Businesses, private individuals, and grants, all hopefully with the approval of the school board, knowing that, yes, the school's on the note. Right now, couldn't make the payments. 35 years from now, if it went south, probably could, but you're not going to have to, because that's why we're going to the businesses. That's why we put together a project that will give the business a write-off, recognition, let them feel like they're a part of it, or the individual, whoever it may be, and keeping the school out of it. The only involvement right now with the school district would be they would have to be the guarantor on the note. Any questions? Kind of I might have gone too fast through it, Coach Green. I was trying to hustle, man.
Anybody have any questions for Jim?
How long does this deal last for?
So it's got a warranty, an 8-year warranty, and every year it has to be retooled or resurfaced every 8 to 10 years. But at that point, you're looking at a $50,000 to $60,000 deal as opposed to the full load. So essentially, 1 year of grass maintenance every 8 years.
So 8 years you'd have to do some type of maintenance.
Yeah, and I talked to the guy, the salesman. He's like, man, a lot of schools go 10 or 12 years. They're not necessarily doing it every 8, but the warranty is for 8 years. So it'd be every 8 to 10 years you would want to go back through and resurface it.
And so warranty for 8 years, how long does it last for?
The turf, you're talking about the turf itself? I mean, if you're taking care of it, it'll last forever. If you're taking care of it, it'll last forever. Now, if you're out driving trucks and, you know.
Or a tornado like that.
Or a tornado, well, yeah, exactly, acts of God. But the turf itself, if you're taking care of it, it ought to last forever. So this would be a one-time heavy lift on the front end.
You mentioned 75% pledges before the loan is issued. Is that a lender requirement or just what the kind of?
No, talking to a couple of folks, a concern was we don't want to get the loan if we don't know we have the money.
Right.
And obviously, right. So that's just kind of, in my thinking, if you've got 70, 75%, I mean, I want to have 100%. I want to have a stack of pledges for $2 million, and then we go do something else, you know. But if we have $1 million plus, you feel good that you're going to be able to get the rest of it. The booster club's already committed; they're on board. They've given a set amount. Crystal's probably shuddering as I say that, but they've also agreed. I mean, that's going to be a big push for them and their fundraiser. They do a great job at that fundraiser. I've talked to a couple of other people in the community. A lender, there's probably $300,000 to $350,000 right now that I would say is floating around out there just on a very, very minimal amount of conversations of folks that would be interested.
What would be your time frame on the fundraising part of it, or what's your projected timeline?
Sure. Well, as soon, if the school board says, yeah, we'll support this, we'll get behind it. Coach Green says go, we'll go ASAP. You know, I'm talking, hit it running. I mean, as soon as possible. As far as approaching people, we've talked about setting meetings at the community center, get everybody out there. It's not going to interfere with building an elementary school. That's a millage. That's a whole separate animal. It's not going to. The perception could be that though, So you want to alleviate some of those perceptions and concerns as quick as possible. That this is 100% private. Timeline, Adam, would be probably you start construction at the end of the football season. January 1st of 26, we're going to be in the playoffs. We're going to go to the state championship. So they're going to have to be practicing all through December. Maybe we can get lights quoted at 100, 150,000, and we can grab that cash right now, and we can go put the lights up in August. I don't know, but the timeline to start raising as soon as we get approval and everybody's kind of behind it, and then the actual construction January 26th.
For overall facilities, so a $1.75 million investment in the football field would mean that the football field is not moving at any,
it would be there. There's
yeah,
no question.
so it will stay
It would stay
here, yeah.
And that 175, so for football field, it's probably 950.
Right,
Then tracks another 6 or 7, and then lights 250 is about how it breaks down from an itemization.
and that would just mean a change to our facilities
Yeah.
plan.
Which I didn't talk to him about this today, but we talked about the elementary today with our facilities manager today, so.
Is there any help out there from energy or anything like that, as far as the lighting, as far as?
I think it's a conversation with folks at Energy that, what they may or may not be willing to do.
Megan's the head grant project manager.
I
Director.
know a
She
few
didn't know she had that title.
I know a few people over there at Energy, but I mean, it's worth the conversation to.
Well, I know that there's people that do the energy audits on their home, and then energy comes in and pays them for windows and insulation and all that stuff.
Mhm. And there's all kind of little grants out there, I think, that we, through various like Dick's Sporting Goods and other organizations that I've got a conversation with an old classmate of mine that heads up the Walker Family Foundation. They do a lot of community and rural investments, so we're going to try to find as much money as we can. But the thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of that's reimbursement, right?
It is, and it has to be a grant, work for a grant has to be done after a grant is approved during the period of the grant. So you can't complete the work and then go apply for a grant and try to reimburse yourself. Most of them do not allow that. The work has to be done during the time period of the
Yes.
grant.
And so both banks that we've talked to have said no prepayment penalty, so we'll get that thing paid off. That's what that grant reimbursement goes straight to the note and get it paid off as quick as possible.
And sometimes there's restrictions for that you can't pay debt with grant dollars either. So it's, the timing of wanting to construct with loan dollars versus grants makes it a little difficult in that realm too, but there may be something out there that would fit. But corporate sponsorships, because
Yeah.
energy services in this area, First
Mhm.
Electric services in this area, there's plenty of other type folks that are approachable too, outside of just our community folks that would
That's
be,
correct.
that would be
Yeah.
able to be approached.
Yeah.
I just applaud Crystal first and foremost as our president, and of any booster club, I'll put us next to
Oh,
any
they're great.
others.
Yeah, fantastic.
And yourself, Vivian, everyone who is part of it.
They do a great job. They do a great job.
So approval from the school board, would that initiate that loan process, or would the approval from the school board initiate the fundraising, or both?
More or less both, because hopefully by the end of the week, and Coach Green's, I don't want to talk over him, but ultimately, by the end of the week, we'll have at least one term sheet from a lender. And I'll give that to him. I'm sure that'll be run by y'all as well. If y'all approved it, then it would be, all right, commit to the bank, but that doesn't mean they're issuing the loan. That just means they understand we're going to do this, but they've got to come with some pledges. And so we'd hit the ground running. So it's kind of the chicken and the egg, right? But
I think before we do anything, that's this discussion now, and then obviously get what the bank says before we really.
Well, so technically, we can make it contingent on X number of percentage of the total
Oh, I
cost to
think so,
be raised or pledged, or however the board felt comfortable with doing before we agreed.
Well, we would have to, definitely, we would have to be comfortable in what was there. And then also, I think we talked to the bank about if for some reason, and I haven't talked to anybody about it, but for some reason it does go south and the money's not there, what are they gonna do? Let us make a payment on it to where we feel comfortable. Whether that's $20,000 a year or if it's $50,000 a year. The bank would have to be willing to do something like that for me to feel comfortable with doing anything.
I mean, I would assume our payment prioritization is obviously the high school building. If there was, as far as like what we're making payments on or making sure there's money for, would be,
Well, yeah.
Buildings, and then. but
Well,
this would-
the good thing about that though is we have our meals, our
Right.
debt service meals to pay for all that, and
Yeah.
so that's not gonna change anything, but.
What field is Lone Oak and Hazen, are they doing? Do you have any idea? Are
Well-
they using the same company or different?
I think the same company's Hazen's doing a field house.
Right.
So they're I don't know who's doing that
So
construction.
they're not doing turf?
No, I don't, not to my knowledge. I may be wrong, but not to my knowledge. Lone Oak's doing lights, and it's the same manufacturer that you go through a bid process, obviously, but these guys are getting all the bids.
Right.
They're the best around. And
So you feel like Lone Oak's probably doing the same field, same company?
yes, with the lights at least. I'm not even sure what their football field is. Are they doing turf on the field too, do you know?
Yeah.
So,
I think
it's,
they've already got it already installed.
And I don't know what companies, I honestly have no clue what company's doing Lone Oak.
I don't either.
they're doing the one that put that mock-up together is doing just about everything in state, and a lot of the colleges really nationwide.
Is this the same as what Gurdon has?
Yes, yes. Same track, same surface, yes, exactly.
Is that JR? Have you spoken to JR?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. He and I, we actually,
But the big deal is, he's mentioned, if everything was to go through with the school, we would have to put it out for bid.
yes.
Because the loan would be to the school,
If that-
well, and it's school facilities anyway, so you have full
So
state
if
procurement.
everything were to work out and it all worked out just like it was supposed to, we would have to get bids before we could ever start projects.
Mhm.
But the loan would technically be to the booster club as us guaranteeing the loan, correct?
It'd be to the, it'd be,
And
It'd be the school.
donations to the booster club.
but the donations, and the
Money
mechanics,
goes
yeah, the mechanics of how we work that out, we may have to work it out, but the donations would go to the booster club, which gives to the school, which pays them out. Because, a lot of booster clubs are part of the school, but the way that and I think it's brilliant the way they did it because of that tax, they're kind of their own standalone.
Shep, you said you could email that.
Yes. Yes, sir, absolutely, absolutely.
Anybody got anything else? Thank you, Mr. Shep.
Thank y'all, appreciate it.
For things that happen, it takes people to put time and invest their time and abilities. Pretty awesome.
All right. We'll move into administrative reports with Coach Green on the district report.
I don't have a whole lot of them, but I want to talk about, we have a meeting tomorrow morning with a Zoom meeting with Secretary Oliva. So our new Atlas scores will come out probably either tomorrow afternoon or first thing Thursday morning, which is way ahead of when we were told we were going to get them. Now, we will not have our new school grade yet, but we will have at least the scores for our building principals and their teams to get together and start looking at where our kids are at and what we got to go from there. I don't want to steal Miss August's thunder on the AP scores, but I know we got AP scores. I'll let her talk about those. Federal money, this is kind of one of the big things I want to discuss. I don't know, like I said, I know Miss Megan probably knows a lot about what's going on with the federal money, but it's been a very interesting summer regarding federal money and all the cuts that have been made with the federal government, or the national board for education. So basically, you got the things that have happened. We've got some funds that we've been getting have been denied and we're not going to get. We have some approved money. Some money has been approved, but it's not been allocated from the State Department yet. And we have some money that is still under review. That's federal money. So programs. These programs that I'm going to first talk about are acknowledgement letters have been sent to the State Department. So this is money that they're pretty sure we're going to get because the acknowledgement of the money being sent is there. It's just the money has not been dropped to the state yet. So it's Title I, and out of Title I we pay salaries for teachers, paras, dyslexia interventionists, and math interventionists. So that's what we pay out of that. The REAP, which is our Rural Education, that's Achievement Program, right, Megan? We use that, which buildings used to purchase above and beyond materials. And we did some grants with that stuff this year and last year. And then 6B, which is the biggest one, that's our SPED department. But again, those three things, the State Department has received acknowledgement letters, so that means the money should be coming through, it's just not there yet. Under review, we have 3 programs that are under review and not yet approved, and they don't know. Basically, Secretary Oliva just basically said, you can think about budgeting it, but don't plan on it. So Title II, which is our PD money, and Title IV is what we use to pay for our SRO. And then the third one is the 21st Century Grant, which is our after-school program. And pretty much basically, he believes that Title II and Title IV they'll end up getting those funds for. But the 21st Century Grant, he pretty much said, do not bank on that. And I've already actually reached out to Ms. Fricker and Ms. Shaw, who run our after-school program, and I told them at the beginning of the school year, we're going to start the school year without that program. Because we cannot, it's $100,000 program, we can't fund that program without federal funding. hopefully we'll get some good news about that, because that's another thing they're gonna be talking about tomorrow in the Atlas meeting, is also some more conversation about federal funding.
What is SRO?
School
Resource
resource
officer.
Officer Randy, school resource officer.
Now, the one thing what I've been pretty excited about all day, again, I'm gonna say some things, but by no means are we out of the woods, but by all means, has it been a good year? It's been 100% good year financially. So, at the end of last school year, which was 23-24, we had spent out of all accounts, so that's one account, one all the way to 8. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 6, 7, 8. So there's 1 through 8. That's all expenditures. We spent in 23-24. We spent $10,619,087. This school year that we just ended, we spent $9,618,233, which is the difference of $1,854,854. So it's a lot of money saved there. The period, now this is just the month of June. We lacked in 23-24, we spent $1,211,791. And in this year, in June, we spent $1,091,633, which is a difference of $120,000. But the period is not the big deal. The one to me was the top one where we spent $1 million less than a year. So I'm very happy with all our people. I'm happy with Ms. Consuela as much as she's worked, but it's not just us in the office, it's everybody. It's across the district. And I'll follow that up with, again, we're not out of the woods yet. In reality, in funds 1, 4, and 2, we spent $688,000. So funds 1, 2, and 4 are the ones that the State Department will look at to see our ending balance. So those 3 funds are the big ones. And out of those 3 funds, like I said, we spent $688,000 less, which is the biggest contributor to getting back in the right position. But again, like I said, I'm very proud of our people, all the work that they've done. But again, as much as I'm proud of, I'm still scared to look at it, that I know that we need to find a way to save $688,000 more again next year. But again, that's all I have in updates. And I'll talk about our HVAC and our other stuff at the end of the meeting. So, any questions?
Good job.
Great job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
So
you.
as far as budget wise, where did we come, or where are we gonna come out at, do you think?
At the ending budget, so as of right now, you know, like I said, or I did mention earlier that the revenue, you know, with not having that $880,000 extra revenue, we were over our budgeted amount by $347,000, but with us not moving that money over, it's gonna be a negative because we have no way of keeping up expenditures with revenue. But we ended up, so expenditures for the fiscal year to date was $7,962,954, and our total revenue is $7,615,150, and that's the total revenue that we got. Again, that revenue, beginning of the school year, the revenue was including that $880,000 transfer from the building fund that we're not going to do. So, but had a phone call with Jason Miller, who's at the department, who I've always talked to, and he is, you know, really pleased with where we're at. And so that makes me feel good that the state knows where we're at, and they're good with where we're at. So, you know, like I said, that it's a positive. You know, one of the big things is, you know, we have an ending balance of, you know, for example, in fiscal year 22, our ending balance was $1,340,323. Our ending balance of fiscal year 23 was $1,362,302. Our fiscal year 24 ending balance was $1,286,420. But the kicker is this, and I'll read this to you. So in 24, I'll go 23 was 1353737, so $1.3 million. But 1.3 million of that, $1,051,000 was wrapped up in CDs. So they only had $301,000 in liquid cash at the end of the year. 24, we had our ending balance was 1.388071. We had $1,095,000 wrapped up in CDs. So the liquid cash was only $292,655. And then obviously this year our ending balance is going to be around $972,886. We have $334,000 thousand in CDs still left, which gives us an operating budget of 638, 112 is right around that ballpark. So again, the big thing is staying above that $600,000 mark is a good thing, and that's where, I think I've had several superintendents tell me your ending balance you need to be your student population and put 3 zeros behind it. And right now we're at 606. So I think, talking to a lot of people in the state, I think we're right where we need to be with legal cash flow.
So how much do we have left in CDs?
$334,774.
And what's the balance of our building fund?
Our building fund has $1,560,994.
Anybody got anything else for Coach Green? Board Member, Ms. Gonzalez? Ms. Coleman, with the Treasury report.
Good afternoon. If you would look at 2002, which is your MMIA account, that's one of our CDs. Our ending balance there is $180,346.89. In 2005, our CD, our ending balance there is $154,048.70. So that's the total of what he just told you, what those two remaining CDs are. So you just add those two, and it would give you the balance of that. And then you also have to understand that this report is also like a month behind. So we're actually pulling from June, going forward. But I also would like to say, we're gonna use that decline in enrollment, because I went to a conference today, and I was talking to people about what we could use that decline in enrollment for. We can use it for staff, to move it up in salaries. We can also use that money for transportation, BJ, and that was something I wanted to look at talk to you about. Is there some things in that area we need to address? So maybe using that money for that, kind of offset that cost. And I want to give kudos out to Ms. Nicole Stivers. If you will see 2265, it says sped catastrophic, which that is high current cost. We revenued $18,666.61 due to her hard work. So I just wanted to give a shout out to her for working hard and diligently and gaining revenue for us in that area. And then, like I say, if you also look, when BJ was talking about our ending balance, you also, if you look at the end, the total over to your right, over to your left, down at the bottom, we began the school year at 1.2 million, which is very high for a district our size. So we're making progress and heading in the right direction where we need to be with our ending balance, and that again is attributed to our staff and everyone playing a major part in making sure we reach our goal. So, I know it hurts, no hurts, but it's necessary, So I just wanted to thank everyone for that. And then also, if you would look at BJ talked about 21st century and all that, you see that negative in that area, but there's still some funding that was left for this ending school year. So I will be doing an accrual on those, so those negatives will go away once I do a journal entry on those. Also with your Title I, which is 6501 for that 22,000. And also that $382 in McKinney-Vento. Like I say, all of those negatives will disappear. And also down at your Title IIA, which is 26106. That. And that remaining balance that we have from the rural achievement is that $19,582.23, because we received $37,254 this school year for the REAP money. So, and again, I want to thank Ms. Hawkins for her hard work and keeping up with that. You guys have any questions? And again, and BJ did address us absorbing that 58,000 from food service.
Now, what is that rural ed achievement?
It's just it's a grant that you apply for through the federal government, and it's specifically designated for small little schools. It's not a hard grant, we just get online and fill stuff out and they give us the money. It's pretty nice.
Right, thank you.
Have we reinvested our CD dollars, or are those the ones that are still
They're
there?
not, we haven't reinvested yet, we're trying to figure out how we wanna handle.
Are they
Yes,
still drawing interest at
yes.
some rate?
Yeah, they're
Yes.
not, they're still drawing interest.
Yes, it's like
not-
500
they're
or
just
something.
less.
It's not, it's nowhere near what we were drawing from the two big
Right.
cities that we cashed in. 'Cause we were drawing anywhere from like 1,700 to 1,100 a month from those, two big ones. So we're averaging around about 500 in interest.
Thank you.
So, and just make sure I understand, so 23-24 we spent 10.6 million, 24-25 we spent 9.6 million. So we cut basically $1 million, we spent $1 million, that's correct.
Correct.
So with $300,000 in CDs and 1.5 million in building fund would give us 1.9, basically reserve time.
Yeah, if you wanna add them all, if you wanna put them all
Right.
together, you can, yes.
So instead of, just so everyone understands, instead of having 1.9 as kind of a backup or going forward with some type of building in the future, if we wouldn't have cut the $1 million out, we would basically cut that in half.
You'd cut that,
So we would have less than $1 million
Oh, yeah.
yes.
in reserve.
Right.
And if you'd have done it another year, we'd basically be to zero.
Yes.
So, DJ, I think it's incredible, the job you did and what you faced at the start.
And
I
here's
know-
the thing, and
And
I,
well, I just want to say, there was a lot of grumblings and
Yeah.
people not completely happy, and we've all had to make some cuts,
yeah,
but it was incredible to knock $1 million out in a year. And, I know every year is different. You
It's
have
just
different-
as much as the people in this room right now too, as our staff, so I mean, I don't want, it's not just me by no means in it. And it was a lot of tough conversations with people too, and it was having to say no, and it, you know, as my wife tells me, you know, nobody likes you. And, I hope that's not true, but
But you led,
it is
you know.
decisions that we had to make, and it was decisions that we all had to make, and we all have to endure, because you guys are voted members of our community to be on our school boards, and you guys are a part of this too, so it's everybody, it's all involved, so.
It's been tough, for sure, but if we wouldn't have done something in 2 years, we'd be sitting here with nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, if we went over budget, we're in the hole.
Yeah.
And we still, even with that, we're basically 350,000, we went over budget, correct? So for us to not go below the 1.9, we still have 350,000 to go, correct?
Yeah, which is what Consuelo and I have been working on the past week.
I know you have, well, for the
We've been
last few
working-
months.
Been working on budgeting, and then also I put a call, because they haven't released the state aid information, which just gives us what all of our funding is yet. So I've got a call in with Jack Trumper at Stevens, and I've been told that he can get his hands on the new state aid notice, because we can't get our hands on it yet. So I'm hoping that he will call me tomorrow, which I mean, I'll be at a conference with Consuelo tomorrow, but for Casbo, but, but I'm hoping he'll be able to get that to me sooner than later, because if you can ask Consuelo, what was that, Thursday? It was Thursday and everybody got home, and I think we left about 6:15 or so, I don't know.
Well,
whatever
we
time
left
it
about
was, but
6:15.
I wanted to get a ballpark figure of financially expenditures, and I can't give you revenue, but I can give you a ballpark of our expenditure budget for next year. We're looking at about $8,159,637. With that, that's gonna be, so this school year, we budgeted, I'll just say, this school year, we budgeted $3,335,737. teacher's certified salary, that's just salary, that's not, or benefits or anything. We ended up spending $3,344,761, which is, we came under budget, $9,023, which is not a lot, but we came under budget. But next school year, we're gonna be around a little over 3.1 million, so we're already under in salaries next school year what we were this year. Again, I don't wanna talk about it like that, I'm proud of it, because unfortunately, we had to have some tough conversations with our staff. So I don't wanna say that like I'm not proud to say that, but it's something that we had to do if we were gonna be fiscally responsible. So those are some things. I'm just waiting on that revenue, that state aid notice from Mr. Trumper to make sure where our revenue will be. Because we're gonna get a little bit more money because we're gonna be up students. And then the foundational funding is gonna be up, I think, 310,000 each.
It's gonna be like 8,000.
Yeah, so it's gonna be up a little more, so,
Yeah.
you know, we're gonna get more money than we have in the past. So,
Do we build a percentage of contingency or anything within the budget that gives a little flexibility, or we,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah. Because, well, we, what we had, 150,000 in salary, so I mean, we could possibly come in under 3 million in salaries, in just certified salaries, because we gave the leg there to stand on.
Yeah.
But what we know that we can't control is expenditures. You know, revenue, we were down in a little bit, like, you know, we're disappointed. But again, we can control the expenditure side. And that's what we've been kind of like honing in on, you know, making sure every purchase order, everything comes through, that we both look at, and we're looking at the books and saying, okay, can we do this? Well, you know.
And then also, we were close to, almost to $200,000 less in tax money than we did, than we got the year before that we did this year. And if you look at our previous 3 or 4 years, we've gotten it, and for whatever reason, this year we didn't get it. So, I mean, obviously, we budgeted for that because we had been getting it, and then we didn't get that, we were down, so.
Well, it's easy, most people look at the negative and complain, but I
Yeah.
just wanna make sure that we completely, it was an incredible job to get where we got to. And we still have a little ways to go.
Yeah.
And the hardest decisions are at the ones at the very end, probably, but
Oh, I promise you.
we had our backs against the wall.
Next year scared me to death.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, Ms. Coleman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Bratton will provide us with the elementary update.
Okay, so just about curriculum, today I actually went to a tier 1 instruction training, and that was over like HQIM, and what that means is high quality instructional materials that are approved by DESE, the Department of Education. And so what we currently have right now is UFly, and this is University of Florida Institute, and this is like our phonological piece, and so that's your phonics for K2. And then we have Connections for Dyslexia, and we have Wit and Wisdom, which is K through 6, and this is your top of the rope piece and that. And so just to explain that a little bit, Scarborough's rope, that is, you know, you have your bottom of your rope and your top of your rope, and so this goes into language comprehension and reading comprehension. And then in 3rd and 4th grade, we have Wit and Wisdom again for our top of the rope, but I'm currently trying to look within our budget for our bottom of the rope piece. And so our contract was up with them, and so I'm gonna have to renew that. And then in 5th and 6th grade, we currently didn't have anything, and so I'm looking for something for that too. And I worked with the lady who's doing our training today, and I've been working with our literacy specialist from last year, and doing a lot of research and just making sure that we're providing our students everything that they need as far as curriculum, and giving them the best that we can with our budget. So, and so I'll also be looking for science and social studies as well, but that should be done here pretty soon. So I'm kind of having to call and get, you know, bids, and not bids, but you know, just quotes and things like that. And we did purchase Eureka, and that's our math curriculum, and that is an HQIM, and so we're in year 2 of 5, and we have a huge contract with that, which is a really good math curriculum. So that's just a little update.
Thank you, ma'am. Now move Ms. Alkis will provide us with the high school update.
I want to ask a question.
I'm sorry.
Have you been surprised or seen any places that maybe you've seen at other schools that maybe we could do to concentrate on to maybe improve our
Yeah.
education?
Yes, so actually coming in, Wit and Wisdom is something that I used actually at a interbaccalaureate school that I was in, and they were an A school, and I know that that's great material that they're using. They also had a lot of funding as well, so we're on a tight budget, and so, but our test scores we're gonna see that, Wednesday, and that's gonna tell me a lot too, to determine, where are the gaps. And also you'll see in my improvement plan later, the different things and what I wanna do that I really think is really important. And tomorrow actually I'm going to a data instruction meeting too at the co-op, and that's gonna show a lot too, where you can intervene in your tier 2 and tier 3 instruction. But it's really important that we have tier 1 real strong, so then, that's where your areas are, can't be weak. So, but yes, yeah, there are several that I would like to purchase, but we just may not be able to do that just yet. But as long as you're focusing real strong on tier 1, it really shouldn't matter as long as you're using a high quality instructional material. So.
Great.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Megan.
Well, at the high school, not a lot going on right now. We're still, in the dead middle of summer, but we do have a lot of professional development that teachers are going to. They're going to the co-op. They have to get 4 days of professional development on their own, meaning so how we do it at the high school is I typically choose 1 day for them that I'd like for them to go to. And then they get 3 days that they go to on their own, meaning it's, a self-chosen professional development. And then in addition to that, they get 3 days, which we call flex days, and those can be used as days they work in their classroom, or, they're coming up to school and working on curriculum or anything like that. They can also use those days for PD too. So they've got those 3 flex days, and then that is on top of all of our back-to-school PD that we'll be having here in August, which will be August 4th, 5th, and 6th. And we've got the administration team, we're working on putting all that together. I know for sure we're gonna do the mandated reporting training, which is required by law. I think Ms. Consuela and Coach Green are gonna do some financial training just to make sure that, our employees and staff know where we stand fiscally too. And then, the whole district will do a dyslexia training too, that will be provided through the Wilbert Mills Co-op, Warren Essery. Administrators and some other personnel are going to Hot Springs to the DESE Summit, which is a conference put on by the Arkansas Department of Education. It's a 3-day professional learning outing, I guess you would like to call it, but it's a great conference because it's put on by DESE, and I just think that anything that's put on by DESE you really need to go to, because that's, you're getting the information straight from the horse's mouth there. The high school will be having a new teacher orientation where we have 6 new high school teachers. So there's going to be a lot of new faces around there. So that'll be held July 23rd. And I know you're also excited that AP scores came out yesterday. And we were in a much better spot than we were last year. I think last year we only had 1 3 out of all of our tests taken. And this year I'm proud to report that we have 1 4. And then 4 3s, and then the rest 2s and 1s. And I did send you all a text message that kind of has the breakdown of what tests scored what points. I didn't give you student names, but just the tests. But the main 4 courses, AP courses that we have on campus are AP English, and AP Pre-Calculus. AP Pre-Calculus is actually a brand new a course that we decided to go with this year instead of AP Calculus, just because it was a better fit for our kids, really more than anything. And then AP Environmental Science and AP US History. That's all I have for you. Any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions from Ms. Office? All right, thank you. All, at this time, we will go into executive session at 7:18 to discuss personnel. All right, we'll return from executive session at 7:44. Personnel resignation.
The first item on the deal is resignation for a certified employee. I'm gonna recommend that you guys approve the resignation of Stephen Chu as the head baseball coach, assistant football coach, and high school teacher effective immediately. Coach Chu will be going over to the Little Rock School District.
Motion.
Second.
All right, Woody made a motion to approve the resignation of Stephen Two as head baseball, assistant football coach, and high school teacher effective immediately. Manny seconded that motion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. New hires certified.
All right, we have two new hires. The first one is certified. I'm gonna recommend that you approve an offer of acceptance to Lawson Wilkins as the new head baseball and assistant football coach and a high school teacher effective immediately. Coach Wilkins will be coming to us from Arkansas Tech, graduate by way of Danville High School. He's a baseball-oriented individual. He's coached several summer baseball teams and also has a good knowledge of football to help us out there as well.
I'll make the motion.
I will second the motion.
All right, I made a motion to approve the offer of acceptance of Lawson Wilkins, head baseball, assistant football coach, and high school teacher effective for the 25-26 school year. And Sherry seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Classified hire.
All right, classified hire, I want to make a motion, or recommend you guys, not make a motion, I apologize. Recommend that you guys approve the hiring or offer of acceptance to Brooke McFarland as an elementary paraprofessional.
Motion. Second.
Whitney made a motion to approve the offer of acceptance of Brooke McFarland as elementary paraprofessional effective for the 25-26 school year. Adam seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Moving to new business, action items.
All right, the first item we have is the 2025-26 classified personnel policies. A lot of these policies are gonna be the same as the certified, but I'll go through these. We have classified employment benefits, 8.1A. I'm gonna skip over that one and ask that, do some change in that, but I'll skip to the first one. So 8.13 is classified personnel employment. A lot of these are mandated that we put into our policies based off the new laws for this legislative session. 8.13 classified personnel employment, the policy was updated to recognize the transition from teaching under a waiver to under an individual licensure plan from Act 304. So that's the changes there, just some wording in that one. Next is 8.13A, which is classified employee retirement resignation. Our current policies for classified and certified is very contradictory. In our current policies, it says we're gonna pay them rate of pay for substitute pay, we're gonna pay them for $60. So to kind of create and lose all the confusion, I'm gonna ask that we change our policy to state that we're gonna pay the rate of $60 a day, and then also, paying the retirement part of it for $60 for completing 1 year, for 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, 80, 90, 100, all the way down. So if they completed 1 year of work in our district, that we'll pay them 20% of $60 for their consecutive service. Last year, we changed that policy because before last year, you had to work in our district at least 10 years before you could retire and get any kind of money back. We added the multi-year tier there. That way, even though those people that didn't work in our district very long could still have some money and get retirement benefits, I guess. They're not really benefits, but some extra money there at the end of the day, even for working a year. So now it's 20% for one, 30%, but again, it's like that 20% of that $60, 30% is $60. And if you've worked 9 or more consecutive years in our district, you get the full $60. So that's 8.13A. And then 8.14, classified personnel reimbursement of travel expenses. there's some things that we've been doing, because obviously we've been sending some staff members to some trainings and different things like that. And we're asking them, you know, if they go and eat, we're asking them to pay for gratuities and tips and all that out of their own pocket. Because our policy states, as of right now, that it's just $50 and we don't tip, we don't pay tips or gratuities. So I'm asking that, on that part of it, we're gonna include in the $50, so they're gonna get the $50 per diem to eat per day. So it's not, it used to be broke down for breakfast, you had so much, lunch you had so much, and dinner you had so much. Now last year we changed that to just a flat $50. So on top of that $50, I'm asking that you allow employees to tip up to an additional $15, and it's up to $15 when they're eating,
For the
that
day?
way.
Or for the day?
For the day, yes,
Okay.
it's not one each time you go. Yeah, it's for the day. But like I said, I feel bad for sending people on school business and then telling them they're gonna use their own money to tip waitresses or things like that. If business, and again, if businesses includes an automatic gratuity for people or group dining involving students or staff, it is allowable to pay the gratuity. And one thing I'm gonna add to our reimbursement claim, because we started having some issues with some receipts, we have to have itemized receipts. So include original itemized receipts, photocopies or scanned copies will not be accepted unless an exceptional circumstance can be demonstrated. And I'll be honest with you, I've had to pay out of my own pocket because I forgot to tell them I needed itemized. So I wanted to make sure that was clear in policy, because it's never been clear in policy stated that we have to have it itemized. It's just always been said this is what we have to have. So I want to get that stated in policy there as well. To continue with that policy change, reimbursement for mileage and all that, we've never had in policy or what policy we've actually used, which is we'll reimburse you your mileage if you contact the central office and try to set up we have vehicles that we can use. If we have a vehicle available, they can drive that. If they choose not to, then we won't reimburse. If we have a vehicle and we don't have any vehicles available for them to travel, then we'll reimburse. Again, that's what we've always been doing. I just want to make sure it got put into policy.
What mileage rate do we reimburse?
42 cents, which has been that way for,
State rate's 52
Oh,
cents,
so
by the way.
probably need to look at doing something different with that.
The federal rate's 65, but state rate's 52, just saying.
So then the next one is 815, is classified personnel use of tobacco, electronic, and nicotine delivery systems, which this is another one of those by the law. It allows school employees and law enforcement officers are immune from civil liability for the confiscation from a minor on a school campus or on a school-sponsored event of tobacco or any kind of products like that. 8.20 is classified personnel sexual harassment. This policy is about 10 pages long, and basically, from the best I can see is it takes out harassment and puts in sexual harassment in a lot of different places, and it just goes in depth. But basically, what the state says, the policy was updated to recognize the court orders requiring that all districts use the 2020 sexual harassment regulations instead of the 2024 regulations. We delayed releasing an update to this policy to make sure it did not require any additional changes from the legislative session. So again, it's just a policy that we've got to get into place. Next one is 8.25, classified personnel phone use. Nothing's really changed. It just basically, kind of basically adds a cross-reference of the new bill where there's no cell phone bell to bell. So it just kind of puts in a time frame there, or not a time frame, but kind of explains that a little bit. 8.26 is the classified personnel responsibilities governing bullying. This is the policy was updated to incorporate the change from Act 805. So nothing really changes on that other than the new laws that were put into place. We had to make sure that was updated. 8.29, classified personnel video surveillance and other monitoring. This one is, only thing that was updated in this is also, if you know about Eli's law, which is a new law that they put in place where we have to put audio recording devices in locker rooms and things like that. And in order. We have to do that by 2026, 27. So basically, all this did is put that into law and then put it into policy that we're gonna have, that basically, that nowhere on our campus, that you have the freedom that you're gonna be recorded or videoed anywhere you're at. So that needed to be there.
Is there a retention on those, like how long you have to keep
I
those?
think
or-
it's 90 days.
Okay,
Now, if we take a file, like a recording for a specific event, then there has to be a period of time where we put it online, hey, this recording, not being specific, but this recording is going to be deleted at this date.
yeah.
So there is a requirement.
Are they foilable?
That has been the big discussion. So as far as what I've heard right now, it is foilable.
That's Freedom of Information Act, it's where any public facing anything and
And would that
documents
not
with
be
this.
part of the student's record?
Well, I think, like I said, that's what I think,
Well, you
I
have
think
to
it's gonna
take the
depend on
file.
a situation that
Yes, I
happened and
think
the
that's what it is.
sensitivity of said situation.
I think the reason for the law, I would say yes, it's foilable.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have an incident that.
So, the next thing is 8.39, which is depositing, collecting funds. I wanted to make sure this is not in there because everybody's using Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, and all kinds of stuff nowadays. But we're gonna add to our depositing, collecting funds, the use of electronic transfer platforms. Example, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, et cetera, to collect school-related funds is strictly prohibited. Staff members who violate this policy may be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination. So just make sure we have that in policy, that we can't use online platforms. Or 8.44, classified personnel contract return. As most of you know, the new law states that staff members have until May 15th to return their contracts. Our old policy stated 30 days. They had 30 days from the day of us giving it to them, so we're gonna remove the 30 days and just basically leave it as the new law says, is after May 15th, that we don't have to let them out of their contract. So that's just following the law, again, nothing big on that. 8.45, which is classified as personnel code of conduct. It says this policy was updated to recognize the court orders requiring that all districts use the 2020 sexual harassment regulations instead of the 2024 regulations. So again, it's just saying that we have to have something else in there. 8.46, classified personnel parental leave. Pursuant to Act 904 of the 2025 Arkansas General Assembly and in collaboration with the Division of Elementary and Secondary Education, the district provides up to 12 weeks of paid maternity leave according to the following provisions. So I'm asking that you approve the new policy to state that the employee must be female, and it is maternity, not paternity leave. So birth of an eligible employee's biological child, and again, employee must be a female. Placement of an adopted child under 1 year of age in the home of an eligible employee, or foster placement of an infant under 1 year of age in the home of an eligible employee. That'll be our policy, which is pretty much the policy that everybody's gone with or taken away, because the state is wanting paternity really too, but almost all districts are going to maternity only. That way, you'll pay that person their salary while they're out. So we'll have paid maternity leave. So that'll be one thing. And now there's a big kick to that is, as how it's set right now, if you are just a normal 9-month teacher, and you have a child, you get pregnant, or you have a baby around April, and you would be able to have through May, and then you would be off the summer, and that wouldn't count for your maternity leave, and you would kick back up in August, because it's only paid days. So vacation days do not count for maternity leave. So in reality, we could have a teacher become pregnant or have a baby in late April, whatever, early April, and they would have an extended period. They would not just have 12 weeks, they'd have a lot longer period, because they would have their weeks in school before school ended, and they would pick up the remainder of those weeks when school started back. So, but that is law, so that is policy, which is 8.46. Again, our person or class certified policy is going to be the exact same thing.
And I'm under the assumption it is funded by the state, not by the district, correct?
Part of it is.
The state
state's gonna
reimburses the
reimburse us,
substitute.
yes, but they're not paying the sub rate, that's what they're gonna pay.
Paternity leave's 12 weeks.
12 weeks paternity leave.
That stays the same.
Yes.
You don't have to take.
You don't have to take
you
all
have
12.
to take up to your 12, but you're allowed
FMLA
to.
covers 12 weeks
Yes.
typically.
8.47, classified personnel use of artificial intelligence. You guys have actually already approved this policy. I'm just approving that it goes into the handbook because Mr. Fowler really did a good job on our AI policy. So that's going to go in there. Anti-Semitism prohibited, 8.50. That was a big deal. If you watched the legislation, I think that thing went on and on and on. They fought, and they finally got it in there. But again, anti-Semitism means a certain perception of Jews. This is a new policy to meet the requirements from Act 721 that all districts adopt policies addressing anti-Semitism.
Didn't we already have that?
No, it was not stated like, it was actually not in any policy stated just like that, but now, I mean, it's officially like,
We talked about it, didn't we?
Yeah.
But we talked about it for the high school handbook, because we
Yeah,
had
that's what
that
it
in
was,
our
high
handbook
school.
too. Yeah, so it'll be in all of our handbooks.
the other policy, which is 8.18, was classified employee benefits. I think I'm gonna ask that you guys approve the policies as I stated, but remove 8.18 classified employee employment benefits for the purpose of more discussion on how we're gonna handle the employees with children in the pre-K, on whether we're gonna have them paid in full price or continue to have some kind of discount for them, and make a decision on that more in August. So I'm gonna ask you to approve the classified personnel policies as presented with the removal of 8.18 classified employee benefits for further discussion. Any questions? Sorry. I want to do this fast.
Any questions on the classified personnel policy?
Make a motion that we approve the classified personnel policy as presented with the exception of the pre-K,
8.18.
8.18.
Second.
All right, Ms. Baker made a motion to approve the 25-26 classified personnel policy as presented, with exception of the 8.18, presented by Coach Green. Whitney seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We'll move into the elementary, 25-26 elementary improvement plan. Dr. Gray.
I'll try to make this quick. Okay, so our mission changed a little bit, so at Carlisle Elementary, we're committed to providing a safe, supportive, and challenging learning environment where every student is empowered to grow academically, socially, and emotionally, laying the foundation for a lifetime of learning and success. Our vision is to be an elementary school district where students, families, and staff work together to build a strong foundation for lifelong learning, leadership, and success rooted in community driven by excellence. And I just kind of gathered data, from what I had saw, and then a little bit of last year, and then also I had a committee together that we reviewed this. And so our first priority is to increase the overall percentage of students that are proficient by 5% as measured by the ATLAS assessments, and that's our state testing, in math, writing, and ELA. And so I've kind of talked about that. I mean, you can read too, or if you want me to read, but like our priority areas. And so I really want to focus on, so our K through 2, actually, they do an assessment and like we build IRPs for them, so they're individual reading plans, and we, monitor those closely, and it also kind of tells us like what they might need in tier 2 instruction outside of tier 1, and then, if they do need tier 3. And you can kind of look at to, maybe if there's a disability there, and so you really monitor that. I'm gonna scroll. And, oh, go down just a little. Okay, and so, also in the upper grades, I use this a lot as a classroom teacher, and I saw extreme growth in it, and I fully believe, teaching to the test. And, as far as, it's called the ATLAS Classroom Tool, and you can actually go in the ATLAS system, and, I'm not really sure, I'm sure they're probably using some of that over in our building. but really like talking about how we're gonna really use that. And the state puts out Atlas blueprints, and what that is basically in each individual category, like these are the essential standards, the Arkansas academic standards for those subject areas, and it shows us actually how much content will be tested on those, those standards, like how many questions we have written down. And so that's, we know that's tested as math and ELA and science. And that's 3 through 6, but math and ELA is in K through 2. And so that classroom tool, you can actually pull the standards and build a test for the students to take. And so it's actually like they're, taking the test in a classroom. They become really familiarized with it and how to click and navigate the Atlas. So develop grade level RTI. This is the response to intervention. So this is your tier 3 instruction. And this is looking at our Atlas summatives, which we'll find out all that information Wednesday or tomorrow. And looking at, okay, when I meet with my teachers, what did they make on the interim? Have they improved? So it's usually a 1, 2, 3, or 4, and 4 being the highest. And then developing tier 2 intervention time. So in the finalized schedule that I've recreated, and I've had some help with Ms. Stivers, and looking at, how many people we have and how many interventionists and how I can facilitate it where each child can, get the proper intervention time. So we have a certain amount of time that we have to teach for literacy for the state and math. And so each one of those actually has a built-in tier 2 instruction time. And then we have Bison Academy, and what that is, if you're not familiar with, is like our tier 3 instruction, and this is where our interventionists are coming in, and this might be math, this might be dyslexia, and also our teachers, and this is alternated throughout the day so that, they can see kindergarten at this time, and they can see first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And then as the teacher in the classroom, they can also pull their small groups, which is like tier 2, and reinforce, and if they need to do tier 3 as well. And so each child is going to be differentiated within that room. And then goal 3, that is improving tier 1 instruction. And that's kind of what I talked about with our curriculum. Really, if you're teaching an HQIM, whether it be this, high quality curriculum or not, if it's meeting the standards and you're meeting the standard in the classroom as a classroom teacher, and you are really homing in on your tier 1 instruction, and that's really strong, then you're not going to need as many supports in the tier 2 and tier 3. You're still going to have those struggling readers and those struggling students in math, and we know that. And by the LEARNS Act 2, by 3rd grade, we have to have them proficient, or they may not move on. And so that's where those IRPs come in from the state as well. And so goal 4 is really looking at data, and we're going to be recording this, and I'm going to be pushing in during their professional learning communities, their PLCs, and looking at, today we talked about unpacking standards, and that's kind of what I did at my old school too, and building these unit plans, and they're like a pacing guide, and determine when we're going to have summative assessments, and like, are we aligning our standard, like, are we taking our standards and aligning it with the proper assessments and looking at the right learning targets. And we have lots of standards, and really essentially 12 to 15 of them should be pretty much the ones that they hone in and focus on, and you can really look at that through the Atlas blueprint of really what they need to focus on, because you're not going to be able to get to every single standard. You're just not. And one student's going to struggle more than the other. So this is where the K through 6 teachers will utilize district approved instructional materials, and that's where those high quality instructional materials are going to come in, that we can purchase from the state, and making sure that, I think that's one thing I really want to focus on, is trying to use that curriculum budget and making sure that my teachers aren't having to pull from the outside. And that's one thing that's kind of been a struggle, is they're pulling from all these different places, and we need to, try to pull from one source and make sure we're aligning it to the standard. Priority 2, okay, we're good. And so this is developing an enhanced recognition program to honor at least one teacher and at least one student per grade level each month, with the goal of highlighting their achievements and contributions. And we should be able to do this and have some type of reward, because I know when, my superintendent's telling me good job, I just, that I'm doing a good job. I want to just, do better and better. And so I think just building a more positive culture in our elementary building, I think that is really essential, and it produces high student expectations as well. because they see you and they know what's going on and they sense that and feel that. Can you go down just a little bit? Oh, the other way, sorry. And so by doing this is gonna come through observations. I've created a Google form too where staff can nominate other staff. And this will be different. It's not gonna be the same students. And hopefully we will have like a little spotlight in our building to be able to, those students can see that their name's on the board and take great pride in that. And so this fosters with a positive culture and this, okay, go down a little bit. You're good. And this also brings to, I don't know if some of you have seen, I have posted on our elementary page and I'm still looking for donations. I have created a positive behavior system, and basically what that is our students are gonna have bison bucks. And so the teachers will be able to pass out at least 10 of those per week, and it doesn't have to be their student, and it can be an activity teacher, it can be anybody seeing that student doing a good thing. And I don't have the matrix right here, but bison is going to stand for, we're still kind of honing all that out, but like bison is gonna stand for like, the B will stand for something, the ISON, and you're gonna be looking for those things in the students and, recognizing them for doing those things and giving them a ticket. And so my goal is to have like a raffle bucket, and so I have created a presentation as well where they can cash in those tickets for different things. And so those things have proven by research to reduce office referrals by, you can see on my data on that flyer, by a tremendous amount. And so I think that will really help. And the teachers will submit a Google form each week, and I hope to come on a Google Meet and announce those students and what they've cashed in their tickets for, and maybe how many that they've done, and so to create just a positive behavior system for them. And so priority 3, I have to say that my teachers have already been doing amazing, and we have received donations from our community to already enhance our family room. So we have got a couch donated. It's a nice area where parents can come in and utilize the resource of a computer if they need help, in any way, or just want to find out more information. And I hope to eventually be able to try to have a bison parent meeting at least once every couple of months or once a month, to be able to have them come in if they want to ask any questions or kind of find out a little more of what's going on. And so that all falls into that priority. And so you can keep going down just a little bit. Okay. And then plan a daddy-daughter dance, and then we already do ocean camp. I hope to do maybe a fall festival, just things like that we can have the community and, help and just get them really involved, because I know that's really important. So I have some of the alumni coming in. I think they're going to help. All of our staff, we did a lot of cleaning to our building. We did that a couple of weeks ago, and it looks really nice now, and you should come see it. And I think we're going to have Hillary James is going to come and paint some murals in our building. I called her and asked her, and so just to create some more positive energy. And these are the people on my board. And so the literacy plan, you can go back down just a little bit. So basically this is just making sure that all of my teachers are proficient in science of reading, which they should be. And there are 2 different areas for that. So there's a K through 2 piece, and then there's a 3 through 6 piece. And we've had to move teachers around due to how many students we have and maybe what they're certified in. And so some of them may have been teaching 3 through 6. And you really only have to have one of those to be proficient in it. But my teachers have been very good I've been going with the K through 2, which is 6 days of training on RISE in the state of Arkansas, and it's all those components. And so I've been doing that with them, and then I have some going to 3 through 6. So that's just to have a little bit of a refresher to make sure we're doing everything we're supposed to and getting the best for our students. And that kind of talks about that, and then we're going to use Connections is going to be our dyslexia program, which was previous Phonics First, right, Megan? Yes. Dyslexia, so we're doing.
Oh, no, dyslexia is Connections.
No, what it was before.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Phonics First.
So now we're going to use Connections, and that will be really great for our dyslexia students. And those students have to be seen a certain amount of time through the week, and then can be pulled through that tier 3 intervention time. And so that tier 3 intervention time is actually 45 minutes. And then we also have, your 30 minutes that might be after math or literacy as well. So they're gonna get extra instruction. Okay. Is that all of it?
Your signature underneath that, I think.
Okay. And that's it? Do you have any questions?
I will mention on your daddy-daughter dance idea that you'll be in stiff competition possibly with Futuristic League.
Yes.
Community, Sherry and I are both part of the Futuristic League, and they do daddy-daughter,
Yeah, so
So-
we're planning on
yeah. No, you're fine. I just will make sure that you are
Yes.
connected to that, cause
Yes.
that's,
Yes.
there's a
And I
lot
think
of.
that's awesome.
Yeah, there's probably some collaborative things that with the school and the organization that we could do, for that, because there's been several different things over the years
Yes.
that we've done.
Yes, and I also want to let the community know too that I am all about if you want to come in and help in any way. I'm all for that. The more, the better. So we're all in this together.
Sounds great.
Just the positive
I'm excited.
environment that you're trying to create, that the atmosphere
Yes.
among the faculty, the community, the murals, all of those things, I think will go so far, so it's.
So I think Hillary, whenever she gets it all done, I think she's gonna start hopefully maybe next week. And she is donating her time to do that, and she is donating, money to do that, and just so thankful for that. And our alumni is gonna try to help with our auditorium and our stage, and I know we have kindergarten graduation in there and 6th grade graduation, and I just want it to look very presentable, and I think she's gonna paint some bison, like on each side, and so just
The
really,
painting
really
of the
nice.
facilities and things that you're
Yes.
investing in, I think it's wonderful.
I really want the state to come in and know that I'm proud of my building, and I just, I wanna be, hope them know that,
The cafeteria is kind of the public area,
yes.
and it looks old to me. I don't know what your impression is when you walked in.
I think that's her impression of it, actually.
I didn't
When I
say
walked
all.
in-
I do gotta give props to Miss Harrison, though. She was the first one that painted the rooms this last year.
No, I'm not saying
Yes,
it looks bad.
yes.
It's vintage.
But it
It's
needs to be.
vintage.
And our
jazzed up.
teachers are painting, I'm letting them paint, and I hope that when you come and, walk in our building, and feel free to come, because I want you to see student artwork in the hallways, and, just spice it up a little bit, so it's not just that cream and black walls.
That's great.
So hopefully as you walk in the door, you'll see a mural and another mural, and it'll be real positive and bright. And so that's kind of, I think, where she's gonna work first, and then hopefully down the hallway. But I'm very thankful for her doing that. She's very artistic.
Thank you.
Prison aesthetic is
What?
kind of a prison feeling aesthetic. Jazz it up a little bit above
I was
the.
gonna say that.
Send her over to high school after that.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Gray.
No other questions, I'm gonna recommend that you approve the 2025-26 elementary improvement plan as presented by Dr. Brown.
So moved.
Second.
I will.
So moved by Megan. Second by Brandon.
Megan made a motion to approve the 25-26 elementary improvement plan as presented by Dr. Bratton. For the, oh, yeah, Bratton. Brandon seconded the motion, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries 7-0. Moving into the certified personnel policy.
All right, most of these are identical to the classified, I'm just gonna try to go through them so we can, on time wise. So again, the first one is 31D, professional personal retirement. Again, just making the changes to reflect where it's gonna be days at the rate of $60, and then the percentage of $60 for the consecutive service years if you're retiring.
Motion.
Carlisle.
Second.
Did I do it again? What I did?
No, he said motion.
Oh.
We didn't really hear it.
Spit it out.
It's in your packet, you have to review it.
3.1E, certified personnel, vacations, again, changing that to where it'll state $60 per day, the rate, you'll get that rate of $60 per day. Next one is 3.2, licensed personnel evaluations. Where'd it go? 3.2 is licensed personnel evaluations. The policy was updated due to Act 135 to add a footnote to note that a teacher who completes a division of elementary and secondary education approved year-long residency is exempt from the novice teacher mentoring program, but is still considered a novice teacher for evaluation purposes. So basically, if you went through a year-long residency, you don't have to go through the, what is it, well, they're talking, 2 years of novice teaching. And that is a good deal, because before our youngest teachers were missing the most days because they were having to go out of the building for different training. So that's actually a really good part of the law that got changed. Next thing is 3.5, licensed personnel contract return. Again, just matching it up with law. They'll have until May 15th to return their contract. It's not returned but by May 15th. It's just like a resignation, just like in a classified. So after May 15th, we do not have to let them out of the contract. That's 3.5, licensed personnel contract. 3.6, licensed personnel employee training. Let's see. Policy was updated to account for the repeal of references to past deadlines for staff to be proficient or aware of the science of reading from Act 195. Then go to 3.17, which is licensed personnel code of conduct. Again, the policy was updated to recognize the court orders requiring that all districts use the 2020 sexual harassment regulations instead of the 2024 regulations. 319, licensed personnel employment. The policy was updated to recognize the transition from teaching under a waiver to under an individual license plan from Act 304. So again, that's just the changes in the licensure waiver to get a non-licensed staff member to teach. 3.20, again, certified, it's the reimbursement, it's the same exact thing, asking to include $15 for gratuities or tips per day for staff, and then how we do our doing the cars and vehicles for school district employees. 3.21, licensed personnel use of tobacco, is same exact thing. Law enforcement officers and employees of school are immune from civil liability for the confiscation from a minor on school campus or at school-sponsored events for nicotine, tobacco products, paper products, all the stuff that can be smoked at this point, because it all changes constantly. 3.26, licensed personnel sexual harassment. Again, this is a change to follow the 2020 sexual harassment regulations instead of the 2024 regulations. 3.28, certified personnel computer use policy. Again, this policy is a policy that you kind of approved already, just getting it into the personnel policies. Mr. Fowler again created our certified personnel computer use policy. Drug-free workplace is 3.31. Legal references were updated to cite the criminal statute for use and possession of medical marijuana on school grounds from Act 271. 3.34. So cell phone again, it's just letting everybody know that we're no bell to bell, no cell phone. 335, certified personnel benefits. Again, it's just like classified policy. I'm going to ask that we remove this and for a later discussion, which again is how we're going to handle school employees and pre-K expenditure. 335. The next one is 338, licensed personnel responsibility governing bullying. Again, the policy was updated to incorporate changes from Act 805. 3.41, licensed personnel policy, personnel video surveillance and other monitoring. Again, it is just letting people know that we'll have audio recording devices. Again, that they don't have to be installed until 26-27 school year, but it lets everybody know that, like I said, basically that there's no privacy across the district. 3.46, certified personnel vacations. Again, changing what it says and just making it an even $60 per day for any days they have, for the days they have left over if they don't use all their vacation days. 3.47 is another, it's depositing, collecting funds for personnel or certified personnel. It says the same thing. The use of electronic transfer platforms, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, etc., to collect school-related funds is strictly prohibited. Staff members who violate this policy may be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination. 3.49, teacher removal of students from classrooms. This policy was updated to include the requirements regarding the removal of students from class act, under Act 565. 3.56, this is our personnel maternal leave. Again, this is just a maternity leave for females. It's the exact same thing. Birth, when an eligible employee's biological child, placement of adoptive child under 1 year of age, or foster placement of an infant under 1 year of age. They can do personnel or the parental leave. 3.58, licensed personnel use of artificial intelligence. Again, I've kind of approved this already, but it's just put it into policy. Again, the next one is 3.59, anti-Semitism prohibited. It's a new policy from the new laws. And we had to do that to meet the requirements from Act 721. 4.11, equal education opportunity. This is just, I mean, it's basically a new policy, but it's basically stating that we're not going to exclude for participation any students or deny them any benefits of their education. 4.17 is student discipline. The Board of Education, again, protects the health and safety. It's just saying that anytime we are protecting students, anytime they're on the school grounds, off school grounds, the school-sponsored functions, activity, or event, and going to and from school or a school activity. So that's protection, which means also a student discipline. So we are able to enforce discipline through school at any time they're on school grounds, off school grounds, at a school-sponsored function, activity, or event, and going to and from school or a school activity. 4.37 is emergency drills. Let me read this to make sure I'm telling you right on this one. A note was added to incorporate the requirement that updates to the emergency response plan must include cardiac emergency response plans in accordance with Act 352. So we just got to make sure that in our emergency drills we have those updated. We already have those teams. 4.48, video surveillance and other student monitoring. This didn't have to be put into our personnel policies, but I went ahead and put it in there. But again, it states that we're now going to be video and audio recording. Audio recording only in locker rooms, and we're going to do those in locker rooms, in weight rooms, and anything like that. 7.25 is the multi-use occupancy rooms. Again, this didn't have to be put into our our certified personnel policy, but I want to go ahead and do it because it did make some changes. Because before, a male coach could not be in a locker room unless there was another female in there. Basically, what the new rule says that a male coach can be in there as long as there's at least another person in there. So they kind of changed it a little bit from the year past and what that policy stated. So I just wanted to make sure that it was at least in there so people saw that we had it, and our coaches, and mostly our coaches knew the laws and things that they could do. So that is all of the certified personnel policies.
Make a motion, we approve the 2025-2026 certified personnel policies with the exception of 3.35.
Second.
Megan made a motion to approve the 25-26 certified personnel policy as presented by Coach Green with the removal of 3.35 for further discussion. We have a second to that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move into the 25-26 elementary handbook changes presented by Dr. Brown.
Okay, so you should have this document, and this is gonna have, you can use the mic or, good.
Yeah, you need to.
Yeah. These are the handbooks to the elementary K through 6 handbook, and so this is gonna, the first policy is gonna be a little bit of a change. The early arrival, so previously it actually said between 8:30 and 11, that the students would be marked for half a day. Well, I changed that to, and the handbook committee did, to 8:06 and 11, just to make sure that they're there. And then it also said that if they check out after 2:45 and before the dismissal bell at 3:20, that they would just be counted as a tardy. And I thought that's a pretty good amount. And so I made that to 3:05.
You don't see that a lot.
To 3:20.
The early checkout to avoid,
Yeah, there's a reason why we were
And
doing
high
that.
school is really,
yeah.
And when they see that 2:45, it's like, I mean, why be in the car rider line? So, and then I created this school parent compact, and you should be able to access the link, or I think maybe you have that in front of you. Do you have that in front of you? The school parent compact? I can share this with you too, if you'd like me to. But basically what this is that we're gonna provide a high quality curriculum and instruction, in a supportive and effective learning environment, and then talk about holding parent-teacher conferences. And keep going, please. Go up a little bit, sorry. Okay, and then giving frequent reports on child's progress, and this can be at parent-teacher conferences, and we really need to be telling them, beginning, middle, and end of the year. And then providing parents with reasonable access, that they can contact and schedule a conference. And then this is the parental you wanna click on that for me, Fowler, please? For Fowler. And so this has our mission and our, this has our mission statement and our vision as well. And this is basically kind of the gist of it, just in a simpler term. And they'll be provided with this as well. So it talks about, what are our responsibilities, and then what is the parent responsibilities, to hold them accountable as well. And then the student responsibilities too. And then they'll sign this.
This is all behavior 6.
Yes.
the compact signing will be in addition to the signing of the handbook as well, or?
Yes. Yes. So we actually have a handbook sheet, and it has kind of the gist of everything, and it'll have our QR code for the handbook as well, so they can always access that. And then they can sign that, showing, and it has the corporal punishment and the internet policy and things like that. But this will be separate too. And then we have our parental involvement plan, which is just a little bit different. And so this is required. We're required to have this as a district. And so this is, going by the law and everything, and then like our communication and how we're gonna do that. And then how we're gonna build staff capacity. And the different events we hold. And the materials. And how we're gonna partner with parents, and then coordination. And a lot of this, we have our family center because we're required to have that by state, and give them access to the computer, to be able to navigate through these things. And kind of what our funds go to, that as well. And they'll be able to access this too online.
Where'd the animal policy
What?
go? Isn't there an animal part somewhere on there?
Yes, so,
Sorry.
go back to the handbook.
Oh, I don't have access to Control F like this.
Oh, you're trying to do
Oh,
it,
you're trying to
control
go
F to,
Oh, I-
yeah.
Yeah, so-
There it is, I see it.
Yes, so right here, the reason why we had to do this because of, if someone had brought an animal on campus and you're not sure what that animal might have, if it might bite someone, and so we needed to put this in there, just to make sure that it is approved, this animal is that might be on campus, if someone brings one. And then the 504, this is by state too, that we have to maintain these records for a minimum of 3 years. And then the pep rally attendance policy, all of our elementary students, our plan is to attend the pep rallies. And I want to see them more involved with our homecoming and things like that. I do believe instruction is important too, but our kids have to have fun too, and be involved in the school as well. I was in sports, I loved the homecoming, and I loved all the things about the pep rallies as well, and I believe they need to be involved academically and through sports too.
So what's the policy?
So I'll read this for you. So basically what this is I don't want the students checking out during the pep rally because I can't regulate that, whether they're just checking out to go home or whether they're checking out to go to the pep rally. So that's just, making sure, that their attendance is, and then behavior eligibility. So they're gonna be restricted from attending due to behavioral infractions. And then the opt-out object, so option, and so this may be for a student who might have a disability where the sounds, I had students at my old school that we would literally take them, they just couldn't handle all that because of the trauma, and so someone will stay back with those. But for the most part, they're gonna be there, unless there's, just a really big exception of that. And then parent access to the safe room policy. This is basically, the reason why we had to do this is, during school hours, I was told that, we had a parent knock on the door in the middle of, y'all were in the safe room, and they were trying to get in. And so I wanted that in there because, we can't do that. The safety of our children is number one. I hate to say that, and I want everyone to be safe, but, opening that door could resist one of our, we might could risk one of our kids being sucked out of the building, and so we just can't do that. And then possession and use of personal and electronic device, so we actually had to submit this to the state, all the school districts do, and so Megan submitted that for us, and so our policies are all the same, and this is also gonna be, this also was posted on our elementary Facebook page, and then our high school Facebook page, I'm pretty sure our district Facebook page, and so we just have to do that, and this is according to, Sarah Sanders. So, which I have to add, I think that's great, so, that we have this policy. And that is it. Now, I will say too, you're gonna have students too, and I did at my last school, that are gonna have to keep their phones with them because maybe they are diabetic and that's kind of how they have to. So if they have an IEP or a 504 that says that, most likely it's gonna be in your IEPs, then they're gonna be able to have that. We're not gonna have, basically the cell phone thing is just to make sure students are getting instruction. It's just, and it's a really good thing. So, do you have any questions?
My son's daycare will not let me come get him during an active tornado warning either, so
Right.
you are not alone in that. They will not let you in that building.
And just to say again, that was all, those changes were voted on by committee, correct?
Yes, and I have a flyer that I'm also gonna put out, I think did I send it to you? That handbook? Access. Okay, well, basically this flyer will be posted and it's gonna have all my changes so that the parents are aware, because they may, show up and not know. So, because like that early arrival and, the timeout, that's really important to have out there because you might have that in the first week, so.
Does anybody have any other questions for Dr. Bradley?
If not, I'll recommend that you approve the 25-26 elementary handbook as presented by Dr. Bratton.
So moved.
Second. Could we be given a copy of the elementary and high school handbooks
All right,
to the
sure.
board?
Once we
Once
get
we
them,
get them printed,
Right.
they'll be available online too, just as soon as Mr. Fowler can get them uploaded.
Well, we're contacted by parents and different things, so I'd kind of like to be able to know what our,
Have
So-
something to refer to.
yeah, or I would say, have you looked at it, and then I want to be familiar with what the issue is, which I tell them to call y'all.
Yeah, they should be.
But I kind of like to know what's true and what's not true, what they're saying, compared to the handbook. I think all of us should look at it.
And they're always available at each school's office too. We don't print them anymore because they're so expensive to print, but we print about 75 copies because every teacher gets one for sure. School board members are supposed to get one, central office has one, and then any parent who requests a printed copy will get one too.
That little long.
But we ordered 150 last year, and I bet there's probably 100 still in the box, so.
And if you don't have one too, it should be on our district website.
It's not ordered that
We didn't.
No,
We only
there's
ordered
somewhere
75
about
this year.
that.
We ordered 150 last year, and I was like,
But it is on the district website.
yeah, all the time. And it's really a lot,
There's
if you,
staff resources.
if you get online and look at it, it's really a lot easier because you can press Control F and you can just search for, type in whatever it is you're looking for instead of having to, search for it, so.
Unless you're old school, and I like to have it in my hand.
Well, I'm old school, but I was driving a rice truck and I had parents calling me and Megan pointed me in the right direction
Yeah.
while driving.
Well, and our
That's so real
elementary,
safe.
our elementary handbook now too is the table of contents where you can be able to find things. So it should be easier for you too.
All right. No other questions. Ms. Megan made a motion to approve the 25-26 elementary handbook as presented by Dr. Bratton. Whitney seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Purchase of school bus motors.
All right, brought this up last meeting, we've got all the quotes in, I'm gonna recommend, and the 3 quotes are in your, packet. Again, like I said, last year, before I really took over, they'd already gotten that approved, the bus approved, but, looking back, there was really no other, we never really looked at any other options. So we did 3 options this year, and we ended up getting to lower that price by a little over $10,000, but I'm gonna recommend that you approve the purchase of a new bus motor from Central State Bus Sales Incorporated at the cost of $17,181.70. This comes with all the load tests that we were making sure we got, and also a 2-year warranty on the motor itself, so, recommend that.
So moved.
Second.
Brandon made a motion to approve the purchase of a new bus motor for the route bus for Central State Bus Sales at the cost of $17,181.70. Adam seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
All right, the next is resolution for unchanged tax rate elector. This is a part of the new law before, and I think this year was really the first time we really had a lot of confusion about the millage.
It was terrible.
Yeah, and I think that was because of what was going on in the city, and I know Hazen was trying to pass a millage, so I guess everybody thought we were trying to sneak a millage in there. But before now, we had to vote on that, even though it wasn't changing, it had to be on the election.
But it didn't say unchanged.
Yeah, it did, yeah, but it wasn't changing, so now they've allowed us to make a deal where you can, the board can approve a qualified elector for the purpose of casting a ballot for the district's unchanged rate of property tax. So I had, our school lawyer create a resolution, talking to a lot of superintendents. They felt like the easiest way to do it was just have the superintendent be the elector. And we all, I obviously talked to Cody to make sure that was even legal, but since I am a qualified voter and I am a voter in Lonoke County, so the resolution basically says, whereas the Carlisle School District's Board of Directors has determined that the rate of annual ad valorem property tax levied by the district remains unchanged from the previous rate, and whereas Act 399 of 2025 regular session of the Arkansas General Assembly codified Arkansas Code 614-125 provides that when the rate of annual ad valorem property tax is unchanged, the Board of Directors may appoint a qualified elector of the district to cast a ballot in favor of the unchanged tax rate at the time and place designated by the County Board of Election Commissioners. Whereas the superintendent of the Carlisle School District, B.J. Green, is qualified elector of the new district. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Carlisle School District that the superintendent of the Carlisle School District, B.J. Green, is hereby appointed as the qualified elector of the district to cast the ballot for the unchanged rate of the annual ad valorem property tax and date, time, and location designated by the Lonoke County Board of Election Commissioners. And I'll have to take this to them and let them have this, but basically, I'll have to go over there and they'll have to tell me when to come and I'll have to put in a vote for that. But now it's just basically allowing us not to have to pay for the election, because obviously school board elections are now gonna be every other year, so we won't have one every year. So if we kept it the way it was, we'd have to pay for this election every year, even though it didn't matter. So this is gonna allow that, so I'm gonna ask that y'all approve myself as the elector for the purpose of casting a ballot for the district's unchanged rate of property tax.
So if you were not a registered voter, you could not do that.
No, you have to be a registered voter.
So would this be on the ballot or not?
No, so from now on, every year that it's not changed, I'll go and I will put in my vote with,
But this actually won't be voted on by everyone.
no, this is y'all just saying, because in reality, even though it was on the ballot, it did not matter if you voted yes or no
Right.
for it.
Do we know what that vote, and what that vote was, or the results of that?
I never even looked at it, honestly. I will say though, the majority of people that had it on their ballots, I don't know why I didn't look at ours, but I did look at a lot of them, and a lot of them failed.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
I will second the motion.
All right, I made a motion to approve DJ Green as a qualified elector for the purpose of casting a ballot for the district's unchanged rate of property taxes. Ms. Sherry seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Proposed budget.
All right, the next thing is proposed budget of expenditures for 26-27 fiscal year. We have to, every year, approve the proposed budget of expenditures with tax levy for fiscal year beginning the following year, so for next school year, not the one coming. But Jack Trumper draws this up for us, Stevens Incorporated draws this up for us and sends it over to us, and it needs y'all's approval. As he always, it's the first time he sent this to me, I'm like, we're gonna approve this, and it's not even, it's 2 years away. So well, it's just something that you have to do by law to approve this. So it's not nothing set in stone by no means, but it is something that we have to have as a proposed budget.
So moved.
Second. Proposed budget for what year?
26-27, so 2 years. Or, yeah, 2 years.
All right, Brandon made a motion to approve the 26-27 fiscal year proposed budget for expenditures with tax levy. Whitney seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We move into non-action items. Jim.
All right, a couple of things. Got not a real good report today. Our gym HVAC, one good thing on the north unit, we did get another quote in, and it was, because I don't want to, because we still have bids coming in, I don't want to put the actual amount out on in public, but I will say it was lower than the original bid that we got, that I talked about last month. So we're trying to get another bid in from another company, so we have 3, but Mr. Jason and I talked today, it's been pretty difficult getting somebody to come in and bid the job because of the complexity and the size of the job. But right now we have 2, but the big, also another thing, I spoke with the Trane representative, and he is looking at doing some energy cost savings for us in hopes that we can lower the price of our units that we have to install. So he's got the last 3 years of our energy bills, and he's gonna look through all that and see if he can come up with a plan to help lower the cost of the units. Now, I say units, it's plural, because today we found out that our south unit, that is our fresh air unit. So we have to replace it, because right now it has no fresh air coming in. So we called the health department to see if we can get away with it, because we didn't want to get obviously cited or fined or shut down. And basically they said you either replace the unit or you open the doors, because with that unit not pumping air, fresh air in, when we're in there just shooting around and all that, we're fine. But when we have large crowds like we do in basketball games or at graduation, that fresh air is not coming, so it's not getting rid of that carbon dioxide. So they clearly stated that we have to replace that unit. So, you're looking at now replacing 2 units. We've got 2 quotes already today for the south unit, and they're more expensive. Obviously, they're more expensive. I didn't understand why at first, but I was explained to why they're more expensive. It's because they have more parts, because they're taking the air out and cleaning it and all that. So we've got 2 quotes, and they're both $15,000 apart. Again, I don't want to put it in public because they're out for bid, but I'll be glad to talk to give you all the prices out off of that, but they're they're $15,000 apart. We're still working on that. Again, we're trying to get those lower, but also, obviously, like I said, there's really no way around it. I don't think at this point we're gonna have to replace 2 units.
They have to be trained.
No, but I will say this, on record, from what I'm hearing and talking to Jason and the people he's talking to, because Jason's not a train fan, but for the size of the unit, he says train is the best we can get for the size of the unit. But it's funny, one of the quotes that we have is a company that is not that company that's gonna purchase that motor or that unit from that company, and they're cheaper. So, it's a little odd to me, but, so we're looking at that, but I wanted to give you guys an update. Most likely, the next meeting, I will probably come to you with some kind of plan on what we're gonna do on replacing those 2 units. But, like I said, that's not good news, but it's something that we're gonna have to do. We've already, working at the budget numbers I gave you guys earlier, expenditures wise, that was with buying one unit. That wasn't with buying 2 units, because we just found out today that that was the case.
What's the warranty they're offering on their bid?
Well, right now, one's 5 and one's 10. So I don't think we're gonna get more than 10. But, like I talked to Jason too, I said, Jason, here's the deal. I said, obviously, we're in trouble enough that we're going to have to purchase these. I said, but my biggest thing is we can't have what has happened in the previous, where they've been money pits the entire time they're working. He said, oh no. He said, preventative maintenance will keep these things up. And he said, I assure you will. And I trust that he will do that, because he's done it in every other aspect. That the preventative maintenance that he'll bring to us, that instead of, like I said before, we call somebody when it's broke, and they come in and rig it up to make it work, I think we're gonna prevent that. But again, it's gonna be a big bite in one lump sum to pay for all that.
But a big difference between a 5-year and a 10-year warranty.
Yeah.
That gets us a long ways down the road.
Yeah. Many other questions about the HVAC, and like I said, I'll bring some to you guys next month, once we have more information.
I'm assuming we're looking for 2 50-ton units.
Yeah, what,
50 tons.
So,
252?
Yeah, they're 50 tons, so yeah, we'll need 2 of them.
and we've run on 1 50-ton for 10 years. So would 2 40-tons
Well,
be better and be cheaper, or?
Paul, I can talk to him, because I'm.
No, I'm
honest with
just
you.
asking.
I'm saying, like, in logical things, you probably think we could probably do that, but I would have to talk with him, because I do not know. I have no clue. And that's what him and I were talking about. Because whenever we do go to do it, I'm gonna have Jason come in, so you guys can hear what an expert is saying, instead of just me relaying stuff that I'm talking to Jason about, because I'm clueless to any of the stuff. Which is obviously why I asked for us to hire Jason, because he's there to help me, so.
How much was the cost of the renting? How much was the cost for renting at the?
That was $5,000, and that was for the weekend.
'Cause that's like our real crunch.
Uh,
That's like one of our main crunches
Yeah.
at the end of the school year.
We even had 1 unit working during that time, or
Yeah,
somewhat
the
loud.
south unit, he had
Yeah. Mhm.
rigged up to work as best as we could.
And
And then the plan was, to buy some new condensers, but what he found today was they're leaking. And he told me, he said, listen, he said, I can do exactly what I told you. He said, but we're just gonna continue, I can't get it to where it'll continuously run without continue to put money into it. So, any other questions on that one?
Public comment?
All right, so big change in school board and how we operate is public comment. Our community members will start in August. We've always allowed public comment. We had a public setting tonight with Mr. Shep coming in and giving his presentation. It's always been where they were able to just write in what they were gonna do, or give us at least 7 days notice, or I think it was actually 4 days notice at the central office, and tell us what they're gonna speak on, so we can give it to the board. And we've always allowed that to happen, but now with the new law, it changes a little bit everything. So public comment regulations, I'm just gonna kind of give you guys an idea, and I'll put this out for the public to see as well. So public comment sign-up sheet will be available. So the comment sheet will be available at the central office and here up until the time the meeting starts. And on that, they'll have to put their name, where they live, and we'll ask for them to say what they're gonna speak about, but they do not have to write on there what they're gonna speak about. But individuals wishing to speak must provide their name, address, and applicable to specific agenda item that they intend to address. Public comment is permitted on matters within the authority and responsibilities of the board. So anything that is under your jurisdiction, they can speak about. However, they cannot speak about any student discipline or student issues or faculty or employee disciplinary issues. They can also not speak about an employee if that employee is on that night's agenda. So, for example, I'll just use this as an example. Somebody can come in and complain. I'm going to use Ms. Alkus as an example. We do admin rehires in February. Somebody can come in January and talk about how bad Ms. Alkus has done, but they could not come back in February and talk about Ms. Alkus because she is on the agenda. So, but again, anything that you guys have jurisdiction over, they can talk about it anytime during the when they want to talk. Public comments that include slanderous remarks about school district employees or that would violate the Family Educational Rights, the Privacy Act, FERPA, are strictly prohibited. Personally identifiable information, discussion of student educational records, or reference to student directory information is not permitted during the public comment period. Individuals wishing to speak on agenda items that does not involve a disciplinary employment matter will be given priority to speak before other patrons. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak. If it goes over, if you have more than 10 people to speak, then you move it to the end of the meeting. But we have to give 30 minutes before any action item is taken into consideration. So pretty much what we'll do is we'll set it up like we did today. We'll have public comment after we do the expenditures, and then we'll go right into the meeting, because no action items will be voted on at that point. So again, if we have more than 10 speakers, then after the 10th one, we'll stop, we'll go and do our meeting, and at the very end of the meeting, we'll come back to public comment for any of those that wanted to stay and speak. But here is the board president, so they gave us a script for you. So it states, "Good evening, everyone. We now open the meeting for public comments. This is a designated time for community members to address the board on matters before us. We welcome your input and encourage you to speak respectfully and professionally, and to avoid making statements about specific students or district staff members, since the board only takes action regarding specific students or district staff members based upon a recommendation from the superintendent. Your comments will be recorded in the official minutes, and while we value your perspectives, please understand that opinions expressed by the members of the public do not necessarily reflect the views of the school board." The first speaker, and this is after you read that, the first speaker on the agenda is John Doe. Please share with the board if you are a resident of the district, or parent or guardian of a student, and or a staff member, and then your 3 minutes will begin.
So they don't have to even be a resident of our
They
district?
have to be a resident, so they have to be a resident and or a parent of a student in our district, and or an employee.
In a 3-minute time limit.
3-minute time. So, that again, that'll start in August. So, wanted to make sure y'all were aware of that before.
And did you say they have to contact you before the meeting?
No, they can come in here at 6:59 and sign, or 5:59 and sign the sheet, and they can speak.
If they're part of the first 10, right? And then,
Well, yes, if we have that many. Yeah. But,
If there's more than 10, we're having a 3-hour executive session.
but, so,
Might be here till midnight.
that's all I have, so other than that, we're ready to adjourn.
Okay, well, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.